Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. The Muppets. The Muppets in the early 2000s were having their ups and downs, mostly their downs. But, however, in the late 2000s, the Muppets would slowly but surely get back up on their feet when on YouTube they started making videos, some of them that went viral, like most notably, their rendition of Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. But, however, a little bit later, and when the 2010s rolled in, the Muppets would for sure get back up on their feet when they would have their first big screen film since the last one, which being Muppets from Space, that being 2011's The Muppets. And after the success of The Muppets, things were looking pretty good for our beloved Muppets, and it wouldn't take them too long to get another movie of theirs. And at D23, they made the announcement that the Muppets would be getting another movie of theirs, and in following to, 2011's The Muppets. And the brief title was The Muppets Now. And yeah, I remember because when they made the announcement at D23 and Kermit and Piggy were there, and, the temporary title showed, yeah. So, again, that was the brief title, Muppets Again, but moving forward, and this new Muppet film would get a new official title, and not to mention because this Muppet film would take some inspiration and draw some influences, etc., from some of the past Muppet films, like most notably The Great Muppet Caper. And yes, not to mention that this Muppet film is celebrating its anniversary. Yes, that's right, guys. I am reviewing, from 2014, Muppets Most Wanted. Yes, Muppets Most Wanted. Boy, what are the first things I have to say about this Muppet film? Well, first off, it's really good. I really enjoyed this Muppet film. Both me and my dad, we went to go see Muppets Most Wanted, and I know that, yeah, not only me, but my dad enjoyed it as well. I mean, both me and him, we are, huge Muppet fans. And, by the way, just like what 2011's The Muppets did, because, 2011's The Muppets and Muppets Most Wanted, they both had a Pixar short screened alongside with them. With the 2011 Muppet film, it was one of the Toy Story Toon shorts, Small Fry. And with Muppets Most Wanted, it was the Monsters University short film, Party Central. Fun fact, because when me and my dad went to go see Muppets Most Wanted, when we entered into the room, the last frame / shot of Party Central showed, and boom, it was over. We missed the short film. And, because when we made our way, it just instantly the short film ended. That's when the Muppets Most Wanted started. And I remember because when we walked in and when Party Central was finishing, I can hear the audience laughing. So, oh man, can't believe, that me and my dad, we missed out on the Monsters University short. Oh my gosh. Talk about, when you're seeing a movie and, you walk in and you miss, maybe 4 or 5 minutes of something, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm sure some of you have been there. So, alright. But again, like I said, me and my dad, we went to go see Muppets Most Wanted. We enjoyed it, we laughed, and yeah, again, it was good. Okay, so, as always, read the description / the story. Dominic Bad Guy, the Muppets' new manager, convinces the gang to embark on a world tour. Kermit the Frog doubts that it's a good idea, a feeling that's proven right when lookalike Constantine escapes from prison takes Kermit's place and lands Miss Piggy's sweetie in Sabrian prison. I think I might have mispronounced that word. You know me sometimes. While the frog tries to convince his captors of his true identity, Constantine and Dominic are free to carry out their plan to steal London's crown jewels. Okay, first off, when they announced it that Muppets Most Wanted was a follow-up / sequel to 2011's The Muppets, I was thinking, and I'm sure that I couldn't have been the only one thinking about this. I'm sure some of you were thinking of this too. Thinking, well, this will be, just a direct follow-up to, what happened in the first Muppet film. And, seeing Walter again, obviously, and maybe possibly, maybe getting an appearance of Gary and Mary, being played by Jason Segel and Amy Adams. But when the movie starts, because it does pick up where we literally, how 2011's The Muppets ended, with Life's a Happy Song and fireworks shooting and, fireworks making the words the end. Yeah, because that's where it opens, and we see the back of Gary and Mary, and, of course those are body doubles for Jason and Amy. And apparently because, well, they were filming 2011's The Muppets, and yeah, that's a wrap. Well, what a way to start off this Muppet film. Well, you know what? That's what you would expect from The Muppets, literally. And, of course, some mentionings of what happened in the first one, they're all back together again. And, well, because everybody's gone home, they're fans, Fozzie mentioned that, about their fans, but those were just extras and, dance doubles and so on. And a little bit of breaking the fourth wall because, well, literally, that's what you would also expect sometimes from the Muppets. One camera is still rolling, and Stadler and Waldorf coming in, they can sense what this is, and, well, because the people have asked for another Muppet film. They've asked for a sequel, and thus we get our first song number. We're doing a sequel. Yeah. A pretty good, I will admit that We're Doing a Sequel was a pretty good song number. Not to mention because some of the lyrics sung by Fozzie and Kermit, at least, they admitted it, and being honest, that, sometimes sequels are not good. And yeah, sometimes film sequels are not good, but sometimes they can be really good. As long as, there's a good story and so on, you know what I mean. And by the way, Muppets Most Wanted has a director's cut. And yeah, when I've had the DVD / Blu-ray of Muppets Most Wanted, I would always watch the director's cut, because that and the first two Harry Potter films, whenever I would watch those films, I would always watch the director's cut, more in the film. So, two scenes that I can remember that were cut, and, they made their way into the director's cut. The first one, during the song number, We're Doing a Sequel, Ralph stepping in and singing something and mentioning Godfather Part 3. That was pretty funny. And the second one that I can remember, well, I'll get to that later on. That's very later on in the movie. And by the way, during the song number, We're Doing a Sequel, Gonzo, I think you know exactly what it is that I'm about to say. Gonzo stepping in, and, what he sings is, while they wait for Tom Hanks to make Toy Story 4, oh, Gonzo. He's the one that predicted it. Because I think, yeah, sometime after Muppets Most Wanted, there was an announcement where, Toy Story 4 was officially happening. So, yeah, like, Muppets Most Wanted predicted Toy Story 4. Like, we can't, like, you all should know that. I'm just saying, because, oh my gosh, talk about an eerie coincidence, you know what I mean? It's crazy, but it's also hilarious. But anyways, so with the rest of the song number, we're doing a sequel. At one point, we do get our first two cameos, the late legendary Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga. And then the Muppets, they're trying to come up with a good title for their sequel from, Fozzie, Gonzo, Miss Piggy, even the Swedish Chef. Like, what the Swedish Chef's suggestion / idea for, for a title for their sequel, oh my gosh, like, oh, Swedish Chef, like, what were you thinking? And then we see Ricky Gervais stepping in, and he gives Kermit a suggestion that their sequel should be a worldwide tour, and thus Kermit likes that idea. And then Walter has a perfect idea for the title. I mean, because with Ricky, suggesting to Kermit, like what the storyline should be, what's going on in the sequel. And yeah, because the Muppets giving their ideas for what should happen in the sequel, so so Walter, his idea for the title, well, of course, being the Muppets again. And yeah, so, and like I mentioned, because that being at first the title, The Muppets Again. And sure enough, we get the official title, of course, Muppets Most Wanted. Yeah, that was pretty funny, because, like, how the logo changes, and, well, something's a bit off with what's going to be happening in this Muppet film. Because, well, we of course see the Russian prison, and we see like a little amphibian making his escape, and that being Konstantin, the world's #1, most dangerous frog, yeah. And Konstantin being voiced and performed by Matt Vogel, future Kermit the Frog performer. And what a coincidence. What a coincidence that he would play a Kermit the Frog imposter and then would go on to play the Kermit. God. So Konstantin making his escape from the Russian prison, as well as freeing all the other prisoners. Like, some of the prisoners in the Russian prison, we get a couple of cameos, and not to mention there are a couple of Muppets at the Russian prison. So yeah, Konstantin, he makes his escape, and then we come to one of the main human characters of this Muppet film being played by Ricky Gervais. And yeah, I said Gervais a little bit earlier, and yeah, sorry about that. So again, you know me sometimes, mispronouncing last names and words, so and I'm not the only one that has done that. Okay, but anyway, so Ricky Gervais plays Dominic Bad Guy, again, one of the main human characters of this Muppet film, and he is proposing and wanting to partner up with the Muppets by having them do a worldwide tour. But little do the Muppets know why Dominic Bad Guy, is wanting to have them go on a worldwide tour. Even like when he gets a phone call from Konstantin, and we immediately know, us audience, that, well, Dominic Bad Guy is a bad guy. Even because, his last name being Bad Guy, Fozzie questions his last name, but he tells Fozzie, it's Dominic G, being short, good guy, and so on. Anyways, and Kermit, he's not so sure about this. And not to mention, because they had just gotten back together, and, he is just really just being worried about, how this could turn out and such, and what his fellow Muppets would do. But, Kermit decides to go along with this and, make a deal with Dominic, and thus, they take their own train, and the engineer, the driver of the train, I should say, being Beauregard. It was pretty funny that Beauregard was driving the train, and at first the train was going backwards, oh, I had it in reverse, oh, well, this works fine, what Beauregard said, and, we see the train going backwards. I mean, at least it doesn't go backwards throughout the entire film, just once it goes backwards to their first destination. And Kermit suggests that they should go to London, but then Dominic suggests that they should go to Germany. Yeah, because they go from Germany, I want to say Mexico, I think, and yeah, again, because this being a worldwide tour for the Muppets. And at one point, because, well, when they finally made their destination and the theater that they're going to have to perform their Muppet show, it's right next to a museum, and Kermit is not so sure about this, but but they still get that crummy old theater. Of course, it gets touched up a bit, and the Muppets, they have some ideas for what they want to do for their acts, and Kermit, he's not so sure about this, and, some of them, like, for example, Gonzo, he wants to do something with bulls, like a bull stampede and such, and Kermit thinks that that's dangerous. He doesn't want his fellow Muppets, their acts to go too far and such. He wants things to be, be perfect and so on. Even, like, Kermit, he has a freak out, and, just setting the Muppets straight, and Miss Piggy, because Miss Piggy in this film, at the start, because, telling Kermit that, they'll be on their honeymoon, and the fact that Kermit did not propose to Miss Piggy, but she doesn't care, and Kermit, because he can't handle the pressure, and even Walter, because Walter is feeling bad for Kermit, and then at one point, Dominic, he suggests to Kermit to take a stroll at a certain place in Germany, at the docks, I want to say, and to cool off and such. So Kermit does so, and what happens next is, well, Kermit is ambushed by Constantine. And Constantine placing a fake mole on Kermit and making it look like that he is Constantine, while Constantine takes Kermit's place. And Kermit, everybody thinks that he's Constantine. He's mistaken for Constantine, I should say. And he's sent off to the Russian prison. And, well, from there on, and throughout the rest of the film, Constantine taking Kermit's place and fooling the Muppets, except for one. Animal. Animal knows that's not Kermit. Like, he's the only Muppet in this film, aside from two other Muppets who find out later on, Animal was the smartest out of all the Muppets. He knew that was not Kermit, and, him sniffing Constantine and saying, bad frog, and biting on Constantine's arm. So yeah, Animal knew that that was not Constantine. But, the other Muppets, well, they thought it was Kermit, and Constantine, pretending to be Kermit, said to them that, he had a sore throat, he had a cold, yeah. And then it's showtime, and even like Dominic suggested that Constantine should watch some tapes of Kermit so he knows how to act and sound like Kermit. But he didn't need to do that, and so he proceeds on presenting the Muppet Show, but he starts to get nauseous because of the audience, and yeah, and Scooter helping out, presenting the show. And one of the first acts is a dance between Sweetums and another celebrity cameo in this movie, Christoph Waltz. And fun fact, originally, Christoph Waltz was supposed to play the role of one character who partners up with Sam the Eagle. But Christoph Waltz was unavailable to play one of the main human characters of Muppets Most Wanted, but he was able to still appear in this just as himself and, doing that dance with Sweetums. So, yeah, it was nice to see that, they got Christoph Waltz to be in this Muppet film as they originally, intended it. They wanted him and to play one of the human characters, as I said. Yeah, and so, of course, things are not looking good for the first Muppet show, them doing the worldwide tour. But because, with that, well, we see Constantine and Dominic, well, they make their way to, well, steal jewelry, stuff from, any museum that's near a theater where the Muppets are performing. And when anything happens, like, that's what I meant to say, whenever, like, loud explosions or anything like that happen, well, it gives them the opportunity to smash through the walls and such, and yeah, hence the reasoning for Dominic, proposing and making a deal with the Muppets to do this worldwide tour, all because, they need them to perform while they steal from the museums. So yeah. Also, I almost forgot, the next song number, and before Constantine goes out there to, his failed attempt to introduce the Muppet Show, because again, he got nauseous and such, the next song number, from both Constantine and Dominic, I am number one and you are number two. It's a pretty good song number as well. Okay. And so after they succeed on their first robbery, the next day, well, this is where we get the other main human character of this Muppet film, Jean-Pierre Napoleon, being played by Ty Burrell. And Jean is partnered up with Sam the Eagle. They are investigators, detectives, and it's hilarious because, Sam the Eagle, he represents the CIA, and yeah, Jean represents the French interpreter. Yeah, I think I said that right. Jean being a French interpreter agent, and I gotta say, when I rewatched Muppets Most Wanted, and, before, and of course, you're watching my review, because, me reviewing Muppets Most Wanted, I almost forgot, I swear, I'm not making this up, like, I almost forgot about the two of them, and the fact that, they have big roles in this movie. I don't know why. I mean, that can happen sometimes, and I'm sure for some of you, you almost forgot something in a movie, and, that's a big part of that movie. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Their chemistry, Jean and Sam, is, of course, hilarious. Both of them are really good. How they interact with each other. Like, they start not liking each other, but as the film proceeds, they start to, have a friendship and such, and at first, like, they show off their badges from small to big, so that was pretty funny. And, and thus, they're investigating, and they're on the case because of, this criminal called the Lemur. And, well, the Lemur just so happens to, of course, be Dominic Bad Guy, so... Okay, and after that, because, well, we then come to the Russian prison, and, where Kermit, being mistaken for Constantine, well, he encounters, a lot of prisoners. They think he's Constantine, and one of them was, like, the king of, of the prisoners, and the crown is given back to who they think is Constantine, him being king again, and Kermit said thank you, and, well, that just hits them that, wait, Constantine, I've known Constantine for a long time, as one of them says, he would never say thank you, and thus they know it's not Constantine, and they were about to throw him in the dumpster. And, even Kermit, he was trying to tell them that, he's not Constantine, he's Kermit. But, all that is put on halt, them about to throw him in a dumpster, when one of the other main human characters in this Muppet film, Nadia, yeah, I think I got that name right, yeah, Nadia being played by Tina Fey. Yeah, and Tina Fey, oh my gosh, Tina Fey is really good at doing anything with the Muppets. I remember her guest role in an episode of Sesame Street where she played a buccaneer, the captain of the Buccaneers. If you remember that episode, all about, pirates and, they love books. Yeah. And she was good in that. And, and after doing that, fast forward, and her being in a Muppet film, and she does not disappoint in Muppets Most Wanted. And she does a pretty good Russian accent, and the chemistry she has with Kermit, and, at first she thinks it's Constantine, fooling her and everybody else, even though it's really Kermit. And, yeah, just Nadia always by Kermit's side, and, sometimes telling him, you will never leave this prison, and so on. Even when Kermit tries to escape 3 times, and Nadia's always there, and, telling Kermit that, that's what the other prisoners would do. So, and, the thing is, a little bit later on, she starts to call him Kermit. Now she knows it's Kermit, but why is he still in the Russian prison? Well, more on that later. Because, with what's happening with the Muppets during their worldwide tour, and the next song number at the Russian prison being sung by Nadia and the prisoners, The Big House. Yeah, I almost forgot about this song number, but it's another pretty good song number for sure. And so after that, and it was pretty funny because, after the song number and Kermit's put in his cell, and Nadia, saying, shut off the lights. And, when the lights shut off, it's pitch black, and she, of course, trips. And, well, because the lights are supposed to be turned off after she's out of the hallway. So, but anyway, and back to the Muppets, Dominic and Constantine, because, well, they are making their next destination on their train, and Dominic and Constantine, they're making plans for their next robbery at the next museum, and, well, because Miss Piggy's stepping in, and, Miss Piggy being Miss Piggy, of course, her going on about, the honeymoon and so on, and while Constantine is, trying to think evilly, because of what him and Dominic are going to do next for their next robbery. And Dominic is trying to get Constantine's attention because, act like Kermit and talk to her and so on. But Constantine, he snaps at Miss Piggy, and, of course, Miss Piggy walks off, and, Dominic just, what were you thinking, and so on. And it doesn't take Constantine too long to apologize to Miss Piggy as Kermit, and our next song number, I'll Get What You Want. Yeah, because, getting what Miss Piggy wants, a thing, or, a ring, or just anything. And he then says this to the Muppets, he'll give them what they want, if they want to do this in their act, Gonzo, for example, Constantine, as Kermit, lets Gonzo do what he wants with his act, and that being what Gonzo had proposed, the bull stampede, and yeah, that's what happens later on. And because Constantine, pretending to be Kermit, letting them do what the Muppets want, yeah, disaster happening, and as I mentioned, and because disaster happens, the perfect opportunity for Dominic and Constantine to break into the museums and steal what they need, jewelry and so on. And so then Constantine does watch tapes of Kermit how to talk and sound like Kermit, from Yay, and it's the Muppet Show, Kermit the Frog, and singing a little bit of Rainbow Connection, but one lyric he changes, Constantine, the lovers, the dreamers, and cheese. And thus, he now knows how to act and sound like Kermit properly, and to still fool the Muppets, and so El Muppet Show happens, yeah. That's the thing, and it makes sense because of their worldwide tour, have the Muppet Show be in, different language and so on, even singing the show in a different language, so yeah. So, El Muppet Show happens, and the first act being Gonzo and, the indoor raging bulls with their special guest, Selma Hayek, I think, yeah, I got her last name right, yeah. Her appearance was pretty funny, and, with her and Gonzo, and, because they got chased down by the bulls and they're a bit injured. That's pretty funny. And, well, of course, Constantine and Dominic breaking into the next museum. It's the Prado Museum, if I said that right. And, so they steal what they steal. And we see two museum guards. The first museum guard being played by Mackenzie Crook, if I said his first name right. The wooden one-eyed pirate guy from the Pirates of the Caribbean films, yeah, him. And the second museum guard being Toby Jones, yeah. And their appearance was pretty funny. Yeah, again, because, any celebrity that appears in anything Muppets, it's always hilarious, and they're so good at it. So, and of course, Jean and Sam, of course, stepping in to, do the investigations and such, and, just getting very curious, and because, they start to wonder, and because, stuff from museums are getting stolen, and because the Muppet Show is happening, and the fact that they're near museums, they start to wonder, if the Muppets are somehow involved in this. And because, they have to travel to where they're supposed to go, for this investigation, they drive in this little car that Jean had, which being the French interpretal car. Yeah, this small car that they fit in, that they squeeze themselves in, and to make their destination. Not to mention, because when Muppets Most Wanted was given its spot at D23 with its announcements, Ty Burrell came out in that car. Yeah, because I remember that. That was pretty funny. And how he fit in that's amazing. So they then start to question some of the Muppets. Yeah. And that's when we get our next song number, which being the interrogation song. It's a pretty funny, pretty good song number. Again, Jean and Sam just, interrogating and questioning each of the Muppets from Kermit, but had they known it was Constantine. And, they're questioning, from, say, Fozzie, Miss Piggy, I want to say Gonzo, yeah. And, well, they don't get anything from the Muppets, and, well, they realize then that, well, how can the Muppets, this is the Muppets we're talking about, why would they be involved in something like this? That's impossible, especially for someone like the Muppets, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so the Muppets are, of course, they're really no way involved, but, little do they know, of course, that, they're being used by Dominic and Constantine. And not to mention because disastrous things are happening during their worldwide show, their shows during the worldwide tour, they're somehow still getting good reviews from journalists. And back at the Russian prison camp, and where we come up to where Kermit was trying to escape 3 times, and Nadia always right there when Kermit was trying to escape, and where she now calls him by his real name, Kermit. She realizes and figures out that it is Kermit. But again, why is he still being kept at the Russian prison? That's the thing. Well, at first, Nadia asks Kermit to help direct a show for the prisoners to perform and sing and dance. But Kermit, he's not interested in doing this. But Nadia tells him if he doesn't do this, then he will be, sticked to on the wall. And Kermit's, wondering how scary and bad could it be with, a wall. And, she gives him a demonstration by licking his back. And, because, tossing him on the wall, and he's stuck there. And, yeah, that's how bad and scary it is to be stuck on the wall. And one Muppet who's stuck on the wall and who tells Kermit to just do the show and just go along with what Nadia asks, that Muppet is Pops. Do you remember Pops? What's he doing there? Shouldn't he be with the Muppets? And what did Pops do? That's the thing. And by the way, because Pops, he did grow a beard. I noticed that, because, we know Pops with, having a mustache, but he grew a full beard. Just to right here, coming down. So, yeah, poor Pops, I don't know, and any of you who know Pops, boy, that for sure came out of nowhere. Poor Pops. And coming back to the Muppets, during their worldwide tour, more on Walter, because by this point, Walter is getting suspicious on Kermit, and even asking the Muppets if Kermit seems a bit off to them, what he asks them. They don't think so. And Walter then, a little bit later on, notices that there's something up with Dominic, and thus he starts to follow Dominic. Dominic's in disguise, so is Walter. They're basically, wearing the same kind of wardrobe. And even, when they stop, they're getting their pictures they're being painted, and they're doing the same pose. And sure enough, Walter following Dominic, he discovers and realizes, Dominic is bribing journalists to give the shows that the Muppets are doing during the worldwide tour good reviews. Yeah, again, he's bribing the journalists. Not only that, but also been selling the tickets, and when they find out later on, because he and Constantine, while they were performing, going and breaking into museums and stealing what's in the museums. So then, because, after Walter realizing who Dominic really is, we then come to Fozzie. Fozzie, he's reading a newspaper, and Constantine's pictures on there. Fozzie eating a sandwich, and a drip of what was on the sandwich, drops right where on the picture of Constantine, where his mole is. And, he mistakens the picture of Constantine, thinking it's Kermit. Oh, Kermit, what are you doing on the newspaper? Wiping it off and, revealing Constantine's mole. Ah! And then Walter coming in and alerting Fozzie about Dominic, and Fozzie showing Walter a picture of Constantine by covering his mole, and Walter thinks that that's Kermit too, but, by revealing the mole, and so, it was the other way around, actually, Constantine and, covering the mole, and, oh, Kermit, and then revealing the mole again, so, it's really, because they can't tell the difference between Kermit and Constantine whenever covering the mole at first? So Walter tells Fozzie about Dominic and what Dominic's been really doing, etc. And then it hits Walter that what if Kermit is actually Constantine? And At one point, they make their way into Constantine's room. You know, one of the train coaches. You know, the rooms that they're staying in, and they see what's in Constantine's room from a suitcase of bombs. It was pretty funny, Fozzie saying, you know, oh, wow, I didn't know Kermit had a bomb collection, you know, however he said it. And Walter slowly but surely realizes that, you know, Kermit is really Constantine, and he sees, like, green makeup that Constantine has, you know, to cover his mole, and by doing so, and putting it on the picture of Constantine on the newspaper, and thus they figure out it's really Constantine. And, of course, Constantine, he pops up and is, you know, about to attack and terrify Fozzie and Walter, but sure enough, Animal is up above, and he jumps on Constantine. Yeah, good on Animal's part. Good on Animal's part. And then Constantine, well, he's not stopping because, you know, he terrifies them by revealing, I want to say, I think it is a reference and, you know, nod to Jaws from one of the James Bond films, you know, that teeth and such that Constantine has in his mouth, like, you know, scaring them. And then Walter and Fozzie and Animal, you know, jumping on another train, and, you know, they flee. And that's when, well, they got to get Kermit back. They know where he is at the Russian prison. So, yeah. So it's up to Fozzie, Walter, and Animal to go and rescue Kermit. And what happens next? Constantine, you know, he first tells Dominic, you know, that Fozzie, Animal, and Walter, they found out. And how Constantine pronounces and says Fozzie's name, like Fonzie, I want to say, and calling Animal, you know, their dog, so... And when Dominic stepped in Constantine's room, he can see that he was knitting, and, you know, with him knitting, that means that Constantine's upset. And again, Constantine, you know, telling Dominic that Fozzie, Animal, and Walter, they're on to them. And then they tell the other Muppets, Constantine as Kermit, you know, he lies to the Muppets, saying that Fozzie and Walter quit the Muppets. And they're surprised and shocked by this. Even New Zealand asks and questions, you know, can you actually do that? Like, you know, however he said it. And it was pretty funny because, like, Rizzo appearing, and he said something that was pretty funny about, you know, expensive Muppets, you know, appearing in a Muppet film. Him and Robin, because, you know, Rizzo walks off and, you know, says to Robin, you know, come on, Robin, and yeah, we get one quick appearance of Robin, and that's it. And that's the thing, because this and 2011's The Muppets, we didn't get that much of Rizzo, Robin, and Pepe. Because Pepe, in the 2011 Muppet film, he only appeared for just one scene, because he was dancing with Miss Piggy, dance rehearsals. And in Muppets Most Wanted, well, Rizzo sometimes just pops up, like, here and there, and he's in one of the later song numbers, Pepe that is. And back at the Russian prison, we see rehearsals are happening. The prisoners practicing, you know, the song numbers, and, you know, Kermit directing them. And then it gets to the point where the prisoners are asking Kermit if they can do this and that, and he's having flashbacks what the Muppets were saying to him, asking them if they can do this and that for their acts. And Kermit just explodes and sets the prisoners straight that, you know, he's in charge, he's directing, and so on. And yeah, I think, yeah, Nadia is impressed by this. And then we see a little montage of Fozzie, Walter, and Animal traveling to get to Russia, to the prison. Like, you know, they go from, like, say, a desert to, like, you know, freezing cold weather until they eventually make their way to the Russian prison. And by the way, the other Russian prisoners, I didn't get a chance to mention them. Yeah, and as I said, some of the Russian prisoners being, more, celebrity cameos, like, the Prison King being played by Jermaine Clement. Yeah, I got that right. Berliner #1 being played by Kenneth Collard. I might have gotten that right. And there's also a maximum security prisoner, because, in a maximum security box, and we can hear him singing, especially like, in the Big House song numbers. Got a really good singing voice. And who is that maximum security prisoner? Because we don't see him until at the end of the movie. Well, I'll mention him when we get there. And some of the other Russian prisoners, well, some of them being Muppets, as I mentioned, Pops. There's also Carl. Does anybody remember Carl? He sang he sang a rendition of Stand By Me, and from Muppets Tonight, he ate bagpipes. Yeah, if you remember Carl. And we also got an appearance from one of the Muppets from 2011's The Muppets, Miss Poogie, yeah. She's back, and what is she doing? What did she do to, get herself in the Russian prison? Well, I mean, it's never established. And one of the other Russian prisoners, a big one, Danny Trejo. Yeah, if I said his last name right. And fun fact, because he, along with Ricky Gervais, the two of them, made cameos in 2011's The Muppets, but their cameos were cut. Others that made cameos, but, their cameos got cut, were, from, say, Wanda Sykes and Billy Crystal. Even, like, those who didn't make it into the film, Charles Grodin was considered, the late Charles Grodin, and even Craig Ferguson, because Jason Segel promised Craig Ferguson that he would have him make a cameo in The Muppets, but unfortunately that didn't happen, probably because, of time, I want to say. But, even like, Craig Ferguson, like, telling Jason about that on The Late Late Show, I'm not in the Muppet movie. You said you were gonna have me be in this film, but, and I'm not in it. So that was pretty funny. But, it's understandable. Even Craig, probably, he understands, why he didn't make it into the film for a cameo. So yeah, it was nice that for Muppets Most Wanted, it gave the opportunity for Ricky Gervais and Danny Trejo to, actually appear in a Muppets film. Not to mention, speaking of Danny, because, yeah, I think, it was sometime after Muppets Most Wanted when Danny's mother passed away, and Steve Whitmire, as Kermit, sent a very lovely and heartwarming message to Danny, which it broke Danny. It broke Danny into tears, and, oh, that's nice to see, and, that really shows, because, no doubt about it, and it's obvious, Danny is such a huge Muppet fan, and he has been appearing in a lot of Muppet stuff. I guess you could say he's one of the, like, top celebrities to make a lot of appearances in anything Muppets. Like, I guess he's like the Muppets' Lucky Charm, I want to say, most likely. And also another prisoner at the Russian prison, the late Ray Liotta. He plays Big Papa. Yeah. And also Tom Hollander. He appears in this, and he's the theater manager. Yeah, I almost forgot about Tom Hollander's appearance in this film. But yeah, good old, he's Tom Hollander, and it was nice to see. And you know what? Another Pirates of the Caribbean star to, be in a Muppet film. Him and Mackenzie Crook. Yeah, both of them being in a Muppet film together. Okay, moving on, as Kermit would say, their next Muppet show during the worldwide tour, well, their next guest star being Saoirse Ronan. she's a ballerina, as she's credited, dancing to the Sugar Plum Fairy. And with those body Muppets, the purple one, the purple body Muppets with the orange hair, they step in dancing, and they use jackhammers. And because they're using jackhammers, well, because the opportunity for Dominic and Constantine to break into the next museum, which they're going to steal. So yeah, there's that. And not to mention, Jean and Sam, they're there watching the show, but also they're keeping an eye out. And Sam goes down, and he almost catches Constantine and Dominic. And not to mention because they are after something that belonged to, it was Thomas Blood. Yeah, no, it was, I'm looking at it because, what was it? Oh, yeah, it was a colonel. My bad, yeah. Colonel Thomas Blood. And, yeah, they were attempting to, Constantine and Dominic, they were attempting to steal the crown jewels of England from the Tower of London, and, they researched Blood's methods in their own attempt to finish what he started. Like, they found his corpse, and we've seen rarely, I should say, we've rarely seen Muppet corpses. Like, I can think of, say, in Muppet Treasure Island, Dead Tom. There's the best example right there. So, they find the corpse of Colonel Thomas Blood, and they find a ring that his corpse was wearing, his skeleton, basically. Yeah, so Colonel Thomas Blood, that's right. And then Miss Piggy, she's performing her act, and that's the thing, because she asked Kermie, even though it's really Constantine, to perform a couple of songs, Celine Dion songs, and, with her performing them, it's not going so well, and we can even see the audience just, bored and some of them sleeping, yeah. And while she's performing, Constantine, as Kermit, interrupts her performance, and he pops the big question to her. He proposes to Miss Piggy what she's been waiting for all her life. And what happens next is, well, they're now engaged, and Constantine, as Kermit, announces that they will get married soon at the Tower of London. And once they're married, he tells the Muppets that, well, they can, like, he's just, he and Miss Piggy, they'll leave them. And this upsets the Muppets. They're surprised by this. Like, what are they going to do without Kermit? And, Floyd put it at best, with the show, when the show's over, they go home. And then we get our next song number, and even Miss Piggy, I think, yeah, she's unsure about this, like, and knowing her beloved Kermit, just, for her, like, Kermit asking her to marry her, even though it's not really Kermit, it's Constantine, yeah. So the next song number being Something So Right, performed by Miss Piggy and a handful of Muppets from Ralph, Link Hog Throb, New Zealand, Pepe, Beaker, Floyd, yeah, I said Pepe. Along with them, we actually get Celine Dion. Yeah, Celine Dion appears in this and performs alongside with Miss Piggy. And Celine Dion is credited to be Piggy Fairy Godmother. Okay, I don't... This is the first time I'm hearing about this. Like, how is she the Piggy Fairy Godmother to Miss Piggy? Like, I don't know, but, But, she appears in the song number, and, that's about it. Not to mention, because even Kermit, the Kermit at the Russian prison, he sang a little bit of it, and, we see a vision where we see Kermit and Piggy happily married, and they have their own kids, one pink frog and one green pig. That is funny. And seeing them grow old, and yeah, that's nice and sweet. Okay, and to speed things up a little, at one point, Jean and Sam, well, they're once again investigating the next museum where Constantine and Dominic broke into, and they stumble upon a rubber chicken. And there's only one Muppet that would carry around a rubber chicken, and that being Fozzie. They suspect and think that Fozzie could be the one that was partnering up with Constantine, and they think Fozzie is the lemur, even though, yeah, Fozzie is not the lemur. And why would you suspect out of the Muppets, especially Fozzie? Why would you think Fozzie would do something like this? But speaking of Fozzie, eventually and finally, Walter, Fozzie, and Animal finally make their way to the prison camp. They're reunited with Kermit, and, you know, they're trying to get him out of there, but Kermit's in the middle of the Russian prison play, because the show is about to begin, and at one point they step outside and they're discussing, because, well, they tell Kermit about Constantine and, you know, Dominic being the bad guy, and Kermit, you know, telling them that how did they not know that that was not him, and so on. And even Kermit, throughout the film, felt that because he saw in a newspaper that, you know, how the Muppet Show worldwide tour was going, he, of course, didn't like the sound of it, but he also felt that his Muppet gang didn't need him anymore. But, of course, that's not the case, and, you know, they do tell him that. And, you know, they didn't realize that that was not him, and it took them that long to notice. I mean, Animal all along knew that that was not Kermit, of course, and even Kermit, you know, is like, you know, Animal being the only one that knew all the time, just how Kermit put it. Like, he had a reason to, you know, be upset about that. And then, a newspaper girl drops a newspaper, you know, extra, and that newspaper girl being Chloe Grace Moretz. Yeah, she makes a cameo in this, and in the newspaper, well, it says, and as Chloe Grace Moretz says, that, you know, Miss Piggy and Kermit, you know, due to be married, and Kermit is surprised by this, of course. And, you know, they have to get out of the Russian prison to, you know, save Piggy and stop Constantine. Even when Kermit tried to, you know, get out of the prison, but the alarm went off, and, you know, one guard was shooting, and it was pretty funny. So, yeah, and so thus, the Russian prison play begins, and, you know, the Russian performers performing the song numbers, and one act that happens being the Great Escapo, and the Great Escapo being played by, and we get a cameo from the one and only Tom Hiddleston, aka Loki. Nice to see Tom Hiddleston to be in a Muppet film. And yeah, because breaking out of that chain around his neck, and he tried to escape, but, well, Nadia was quick enough to stop the Great Escapo by tasing him. And then we come to the final act / song number. And it's basically about digging, you know, in the mines and underground and such. And yeah, that of course gives Kermit, Fozzie, Walter, and Animal the perfect opportunity to go underground and escape. And that goes for the Russian prisoners, because, yeah, I think, yeah, they all escaped as well. And when the curtain closed and when it, you know, opened back, and because they were supposed to take a bow and such, they never came back out of the hole that they had dug. And Nadia realizes what's going on, and she knows that Kermit has escaped, and, you know, her shouting, "Kermit!" And the reason why Kermit was, you know, still being held in the Russian prison, well, I mean, even though Nadia knew, as well as the prisoners, they all knew that, you know, he was not Constantine, he was actually Kermit. Well, because apparently Nadia has a crush on Kermit, especially, like, she opens, like, a wardrobe and she has everything Kermit, and takes a picture of Kermit and Oh my gosh, Nadia. And, well, because it seemed like that his fellow Muppets didn't need him anymore. But again, they finally make their way out of there, and thus they make their way to London, to the London Tower, where the wedding is about to happen. The wedding we then come to the Tower of London, where the wedding is about to take place, and we get another cameo. And actually, because there were a couple of other cameos that were cut, but they made their way into the director's cut, yeah. Like, a lot of Disney Channel stars, like, oh my gosh, Debbie Ryan, and, let me see, I think it's him, isn't it? Because, as always, I've got IMDb. Yeah, Ross Lynch. Ross Lynch appears in this, and he is handling flowers. And Kermit pretends to, be the one to handle the flowers and to go in to prepare for the wedding. And there was one scene in which, now I can now talk about, because one scene that I remember in the director's cut where Kermit has to pretend and act like Constantine. Like, he is doing his best impression of Constantine. That's just funny, because from Constantine trying to do an impression of Kermit, and Kermit trying to do an impression of Constantine. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, and other cameos that that were cut but would make their way into the director's cut, like Stanley Tucci made an appearance, as well as James McAvoy. He was a UPS delivery guy, so that was pretty funny. And Miranda Richardson also appeared as well. She was Berliner at Window. That's what her character is literally called and credited. So Kermit, Fozzie, and Animal and Walter, they split up, and Kermit and Fozzie, they make their way into, where Constantine is preparing to get dressed and such, and a mirror broke, and Kermit has to pretend to be Constantine's reflection in the mirror, and Fozzie, he has to pretend to be a throw rug. Yeah. And yeah, because James McAvoy, his cameo did make it into the final film, because James McAvoy, I think, yeah, because I believe it was him, yeah, like, delivering something for Constantine for the wedding, and placing that big package on Fozzie, crushing him. And we see when Fozzie gets up, when they leave the room, and it's just now Kermit and Fozzie, he gets up and he's poor Fozzie, he's flat as a pancake. And Fozzie's asking him how he looks, and because of after that big package laying on him, and Kermit, he could see, but, he assures Fozzie that he's okay. And then, well, because Constantine and Dominic, they were once again going to steal something from the Tower of London, and they had some help. Some of those Muppet babies, they're helping out Dominic steal the crown that's at the Tower of London. And all while Constantine is preparing to, get married to Miss Piggy. And at the wedding, and also Kermit gets dressed up too, so he can step in, and of course to stop Constantine. At the wedding, because we see a couple of other appearances, like we once again see Zach Galifianakis, who appeared in the 2011 Muppet film where he played Hobo Joe. We once again see Hobo Joe and a couple of those other hobos that are Muppet hobos, I should say. And we get a quick appearance of Uncle Deadly and Bobo the Bear. In the 2011 Muppet film, they had big roles, and in this, they're just there for a cameo. One scene, Uncle Deadly is the organist. That's funny. And Bobo, he's crying because he's happy, and Bobo, not Bobo, Uncle Deadly's telling him to keep it down, so. And by the way, because, do you remember 80s Robot? Because, he appears in Muppets Most Wanted, but he really doesn't have a big role in this. And besides, this kind of being the last time we would see 80s Robot for now at least. The same goes for Thud, the big blue furry Muppet. Yeah, because this too being the last time we would see Thud, for now, that is. At one point, Fozzie and Kermit, because they're making their way and, to stop Constantine, and to, stop the wedding, and again, Kermit being dressed, well, they are spot and caught by Jean and Sam, and because they are captured, well, that means the case is closed. And Jean, we see him taking an 8-week vacation with his wife and children, and it's all up to Sam to take care of them, and by handcuffing them to that tiny car. But of course, Fozzie and Kermit, they escape by breaking the small car, with their feet, and they walk and they escape, out of Sam's sight. And of course, he sees that they have escaped, and he alerts Jean to, come out of, taking a vacation and to get back onto the case. And at the wedding, because, well, the wedding is happening and they're about to be married, and the priest, yeah, because, where was he? Let me see. There he is, yeah. The beefeater vicar, yeah, I'll just say the vicar. The vicar being played by, and we get a cameo from Frank Langella, if I'm saying his last name right. Yeah, he's the vicar about to marry Kermit and Miss Piggy, starting with Kermit, but it's really Constantine. Do you take Miss Piggy, etc.? And he says, yes, I do. And then turning to Miss Piggy, and she says, I do? And the vicar saying, was that a question and such? Because, yeah, Miss Piggy is still not sure about this. You can tell, because there's something off with Kermit, even though it's not Kermit. And then, like, Kermit, Walter, Animal, and Fozzie, trying to, snatch Constantine, and Kermit stepping in, and Constantine doing the same thing, like, swapping places with Kermit. And, there was a funny line from Janice because, the Kermit, calling off the wedding, and Janice saying, oh, wow, like I knew he'd get cold flippers. That was pretty funny. I remember my dad laughing at that when we went to see it at the movie theaters. So I remember distinctly he laughed at that. Because it is funny. It is funny. Nice to see Janice get a funny line, so. And then, of course, Constantine, landing on Kermit, and everybody, and Miss Piggy see that there are 2 Kermits. And Scooter, saying, 2 Kermits? How is this possible? And Miss Piggy, the only way to find out who the Kermit is by asking them, each of them, like, for my first Kermit, will you marry me? And, that being Constantine, and he says, yes, I do, the helicopter is waiting. And then she turns to, the second Kermit, asking him if he'll marry her. And Kermit saying, well, no, I mean, yes, but, him stuttering, and she knows that that's Kermit. And, well, his cover's blown, and he has no choice. So, like, he wipes off the makeup off his wart, and everybody is surprised to see that it's Constantine. And Constantine, threatening them, and, well, a bomb is about to go off. He pushed the button, and where's the bomb? Well, the bomb is Miss Piggy's engagement ring, the ring that she has on. It's the bomb. And then, out of nowhere, Dr. Bunsen Honeydew happens to have a bomb, vest, it can detect and be attracted to bombs, like a magnet. And Beaker just so happens to be wearing the bomb vest. Poor Beaker. And, of course, for it being a magnet, the ring gets attached to the bomb vest, and Kermit and the Muppets trying to pull the ring off of Miss Piggy. They succeed, and this sends Beaker flying and landing into the water at that bridge at London, And, of course, the bomb goes off. But Beaker, he's okay, so. And Miss Piggy is gone out of nowhere. Well, that's because Constantine snatched her because, despite the fact that, they're not getting married and, they all know by now it's Constantine, he's still capturing her, being, an extra being extra pricey and such for Constantine. And when they get to the helicopter, Dominic is there. He's in his lemur suit, and he turns his back and betrays Constantine. But, well, he's no match for Constantine because he sends Dominic flying out of the helicopter. And so Constantine attempts to escape with Miss Piggy held hostage, and the Muppets, one by one, they get on top of each other, and by stopping the helicopter, I should say. And of course, they succeed. Constantine is defeated once and for all. Both him and Dominic, they're placed under arrest, and, well, the case is finally closed for Jean and Sam. And tearfully, they say goodbye. But, you know, they don't stop there. They continue to hang out some more. So, you know, that was nice and funny. And then, well, because it seems like all ends well for Kermit and the Muppets, well, it doesn't last that long. Nadia and a handful of Russian soldiers show up, and, well, they're placing Kermit under arrest again. And why? Because, I mean, they now have Constantine, so still, like, what? And, you know, because the reason being is, and as Nadia explains, you know, for leaving and not finishing the show and not even saying goodbye. There was never a thing, nothing ever happened between Kermit and Nadia. And so, you know, they're about to take Kermit away, but Walter steps in and stands up and, you know, basically helps Kermit out, you know, that, you know, and he's apologizing to Kermit that, you know, they didn't pay attention, they didn't notice that he disappeared, and, you know, Constantine took his place, and, you know, realizing that they really needed Kermit. And each of the Muppets, from, like, say, Walter, Fozzie, Miss Piggy, Ralph, Scooter, all of them, you know, saying that, you know, if you're gonna take Kermit in, you'll have to take me too, and me, and me. And Nadia decides and realizes that, you know, they really do need him, and thus she releases Kermit. But that doesn't stop there, because, well, they still have something to do and finish at the prison camp, performing one more song number, you know, and, well, the final song number that we get is a rendition of Together Again from Muppets Take Manhattan. It's nice to see that they did that song number. And, you know, all of the Muppets, they're stuck on the wall, as well as the celebrity cameos, they're on the wall too. I even noticed 80s Robot, he was stuck on the wall too. And all the Russian prisoners, as well as Dominic and Constantine, they're singing as well. And we finally see that maximum security prisoner. Who was it the whole time? Well, it was Josh Groban. He was the maximum security prisoner. He steps out of his box and, you know, singing his big number, and he's put back in the box. It's funny. And right before the song number finishes, Kermit tells Nadia that this is her big solo part, etc. And right as she's about to sing, the screen cuts to black and it shows the words, "The End." She didn't get to sing her solo, and you know, her shouting, "Kermit!" and thus the credits roll. And it's really cool that with the fireworks, like, it makes it makes the form of the Muppets, you know, the fireworks. And during the end credits, most of the end credits, a couple of Muppets pop up here and there, like Sweetums, Honeydew, and Beaker, and Fozzie. I think, yeah, Sam was in there too. Like, Sweetums at one point was pulling a rope, like pulling, well, the end credits. It was pretty funny. And Fozzie getting the last line of the film right before the movie ends with the castle, you know, "The movie's over, Mom, you can go home." That was a funny way to end it. And, you know, that's what you would expect from the Muppets themselves, and a hilarious and great way to end a Muppet movie like that. Muppets Most Wanted is a pretty good Muppet film. It may not be the best, but it's still good, enjoyable, and it has some hilarious Muppet humor. The story was pretty good. What was going on with the Muppets and with their worldwide tour, and with the celebrity cameos we got, and, you know, the three main celebrities who were playing the main human characters of this Muppet film, from Ricky Gervais, Ty Burrell, and Tina Fey. They were fantastic. Yeah, and, you know, sometimes in Muppet films, you know, they can have some pretty good emotional moments and some touching moments, etc. And yeah, what Muppets Most Wanted did in this was pretty good. You know, not to mention, and sadly, Muppets Most Wanted, two things. One, Muppets Most Wanted was dedicated to both the late Jerry Nelson and the late Jane Henson, Jim Henson's wife. And, you know, not to mention Jerry Nelson, his voice was heard one last time in Muppets Most Wanted as the announcer. You know, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Kermit the Frog. Yeah, that was his voice. And how can you not identify and know that that's Jerry Nelson's voice? So yeah, again, Muppets Most Wanted was dedicated to both of them. And Muppets Most Wanted being the last ever Muppet film to have Steve Whitmire as Kermit and all the other Muppets that he performs. It's a shame. It really is. Yeah. Steve Whitmire being dearly missed, you know, being a part of the Muppets and being one of the, you know, best, you know, Muppeteers, and who was there from, you know, the early days of the Muppets and when Jim was around. Okay, so I'm giving Muppets Most Wanted, yeah, it's on my mind, 8 out of 10 stars. Yes, 8 out of 10 stars for Muppets Most Wanted. Again, it's not the best Muppet film, and, I mean, it did good when it came out, but not as successful and so on. But still, it was nice to see that this did very well. Definitely. Yeah, so what about you guys? What did you think of Muppets Most Wanted itself? Did any of you see this in theaters? Is it in one of your is it in your top favorite, you know, list of Muppet films? Did you enjoy what this Muppet film had to offer with its storyline, the celebrity cameos, everything that I've had to say about this Muppet film? And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Muppets Most Wanted. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And happy anniversary to Muppets Most Wanted. Take care, and peace out.